Hello, ladies and gents. Well, apologize that I'm not, in my tie, and my shirt, and all dressed up smart for this, but it doesn't matter. It's all good. So this is gonna be part one of me teaching you my approach to how to analyze demos, and we're gonna look at a pro level match in this installment. The next part will actually be about our like looking at us. If I'm playing like a matchmaking game or a face it game or with my friends or whatever, or a solo queue, how I can bring some of the understanding into analyzing that, and how we can look at those demos to improve ourselves individually, even though it's very much a team game, and this obviously can be an issue. So firstly, we're going to look at a pro level match, and this is really going to help us understand more of these concepts of CS, because it's so much clearer to see at the pro level than it is when we're playing random games in matchmaking or what have you. So I'm just going to quickly go back here, because I did actually check out the first round, because I already tried to record this, but then realized that, wait a second, I'm just doing an analysis episode. And I'm not like, what is going on here? And I'm not like, I don't know why is that? Whatever, it doesn't matter. I'm just like doing an analysis episode here, and really, in reality, things aren't going so well. But either way, all right, so LDLC and NIP in a pistol round. So what I'm going to do is, for the first time around, I'm going to ask the questions and then give the answers, and then talk about some of the concepts in how you can understand to ask these questions. We're going to do that like a couple times, and then I'm just going to start asking questions, and that's going to help you, hopefully like me, help you to learn or teach yourself how some of the processes that at least I use. So first things first, first question. It's a pistol round. This is DreamHack Winter 2014 Grand Finals, for those wondering. Map number 1, Dust 2. So first thing, what are they buying? And what does it mean? How are the CTs going to position themselves for their initial defense, and what are the strengths and weaknesses of it? First thing, before we actually really jump into anything and answer those basic questions, is I want to talk about how we need to understand always the very, very base fundamentals of what the hell is the objective of this game. It's very simple, I know, but this is how this stuff works. So firstly, the CTs have to defend the bomb sites. Very obvious objective. And how do they do that? Well, one of the ways they do that is by making sure, one of their objectives in doing that is making it so they have the best possible setups. They give them the highest percentage chances, because they have the most edges, to actually win the battles, to defend successfully the sites and prevent a plant from going down. So we quickly just look at the game again and look at the map here. So, okay. If you want to stop a rush, how do you, what is the best, I'm going to ask you, what is the best way to stop a rush? Now, it might seem like a bit of a weird question, but the best way to stop a rush is to catch them in a choke point when they're all together. And why is it that that's the best way to stop a rush? Well, obviously, they're all stuck together. It's very hard for them to fight without hitting each other. It's hard for them to get in position. They're moving, and they need to stop and shoot. They're going to block each other. So these choke points are very, very effective in helping us stop rushes and stop the T's gaining ground. So as CTs, you want to always try to control choke points. Choke points are very, very important in CS when you're trying to actually win. And we can see there's so many different choke points on this map, so many areas which can be considered choke points. So choke points obviously a very fundamental element of how you can have a high success in defending a rush or a push. So you want to be able to defend the choke points. What does it also mean that having a choke point? Well, having a choke point, how many people do you need to hold a choke point? Do you need 3 people to hold a choke point? No, you don't really need 3 people to hold a choke point. It depends on the choke point, but usually, typically, you can often get away with 1 person, because as long as it's like a 1-on-2 trade, it's pretty good, and that means you can spread your resources out elsewhere. And because we generally don't know all the time what's going to be happening in this game, like where all the players are going to be, might be like 2 people pushing there, or 3 or 4. It's generally a safer bet. So that, that's one very basic thing. Like that's just an example of how one of the many ways in which you can gain an edge defensively against the T's, because that's what the CTs are all about, the defensive edges, right? And also, team play obviously factors in there, having crossfire setups and counter flashing together and all this kind of stuff. Other ways to gain edges here. So having the ability to also understand where to be positioned is very paramount, because obviously that's going to basically depend on the information that you get. So and you have to go and find that information a lot of the time. So there you go. This is some very like basics of how CT side works. T side is basically the converse of that. It's obviously you want to take positions. You want to try to basically break these best possible scenarios for the CTs. You want to avoid giving them the information that they need to make the best possible choices for positions. So these are just like very easy, food for thought kind of things when you're like looking at these situations and asking yourself questions. So let's just jump into this because I don't want to get into that too much. It's pretty simple stuff, and I'll probably do a lot of episodes and about random videos about this kind of stuff like on a smaller scale. So let's just jump back into this. Okay, so first thing, let's ask ourselves, okay, what is going on with the positioning of LDLC? Okay, so it's pretty simple. It's pretty simple, like a pre-smoke there from Smith. So what they're doing is they're sending 2 to B, 3 to long, basically. They are covering themselves against a really fast rush from either towards A or either towards B. Very obvious stuff. This is the immediate threat. We know now that CTs, they can't read the minds of NIP. They don't know what NIP are planning to do. They don't know what the spawns were. When they're jumping across middle and they're looking down here, if you see no one, then it can be that there is a rush, because either they got really good spawns towards B for a B rush, or they got really good spawns towards long for a long rush. So you got to be very cognizant of that, and that's always going to be the immediate threat on this map. And as far as a long or a cat rush goes, obviously long is always going to be hit first, so you always want to have players on long first. So basically what this tells us is LDLC, they went for the safest possible setup where they're dealing with a potential immediate rush on B and a potential immediate rush on long A, and the only thing they're giving up is middle control, which doesn't matter to them at the beginning of the round. So NIP, basically we're going to see them waiting and being reactive. So based on what we just talked about, what does it mean? Like, what are they, by delaying, what is that actually doing? So what is it doing by them delaying? How does that affect the CTs? And how does it affect the Ts? It's a very good question. So the way that it affects the Ts is that the Ts get more information the longer the round goes on. They get more information. Whether it's always good information is another question, but they get more information. LDLC, as far as the round goes on, well, now they've eliminated that. Wait, okay, they didn't rush A long, they didn't rush B, and we kind of we have a setup to deal with those things. The most optimal setup for us initially right at the start of the round, I know Happy's pushed all the way up to Goose there, but or to Graffiti there, but initially before that happened, they had kind of a tight setup that could deal with an A long rush. So now as the round's progressing, they're having to move their positions and change what they're doing. So this is basically what the kind of picking play works upon a lot of the time, is you're expecting the CTs to move because they need to find out what's happening. So as we talked about before, they can actually have the best possible defense going on in the future. So let's just play the round out a little bit and see what's happening, and just ask ourselves some more questions. So as CTs, is there anything they can really do safely? Well, it's Dust 2, so on Dust 2, it's very hard to actually find out information easily. So they have to just hold to these setups. And again, these setups are fine. I mean, if we just quickly run a situation where they rush up middle all of a sudden, well, Kyoshima's going to see it, and these guys, they have a couple options. If they haven't seen anything in dark yet, what they can do is they can actually try to take dark, and then if they have dark, and then it allows their teammates to attack here, and then they can split onto B at the end, which is always really fun and very effective. Or they can just try to hold out for as long as possible and do as much damage as they can. But with good setups together, with nice angles, they can definitely do some damage if there is a B split. And if it's A, well, these two guys have to get fast frags. We already talked about how important this area is. Like once they get out of this area, your chance to make frags is going to be much harder. It can obviously still happen. You never know with the pistols, but that's always a consideration. So now you just gotta let the execution play out. MBK has to hit something here. He's got to get some headshots, and it's the same for Shocks. They both have to get something. Neither of them gets anything. Now Happy's alone on the site. So this is basically, so their ability to win the round after this was pushed and no one died for the Ts, like it drops from like, I mean, I'm just going to pull numbers out of my ass here, but I'm not even going to pull any numbers out. But basically, it went from them having a good chance or a decent chance to win the round to an extremely slim chance to win the round, because all these Ts rushing up here exists is trying to block or slow rotation or mess with these guys here. Like, it's very, very difficult. So there you go. That's like the first round there. And let's just like skip. We don't even care about this anymore. We know what's gonna happen. So let's just skip, and let's skip into a buy round. Screw it. Let's go into buy round. Okay, now we should have a buy. It's not the best buy in the world. All right, so let's try to do the same process here. And obviously things will get a little bit more complicated. Pistol rounds are always very, very basic. Okay. I might do more, if you guys want more parts to this, please let me know and I'll just do more. But here we go. So, what do we have? Okay, so, Smith hasn't got an AWP. Now we know that's a pretty big deal for him. There's still a scout on Michael, which is funny. They're still, because they don't want to like, obviously they don't want to spend money if they don't have to, which is very smart of them. So that's why he still has a scout and he's able to like spot middle, but they did smoke it off. So we do have the same setup here as the pistol round we're seeing early on from LDLC. It's almost exactly the same. In fact, they got more presence here on long, in fact, because obviously now that there is more nades and rifles and stuff, this is becoming much more potentially troubling for the CTs. So we got a nice position there from Happy. So let's have a look at this and ask ourselves some questions. Again, NIP had applied the same approach. They're just waiting right now. And we can see that this is the initial setup, right? This is the initial play. Happy and MBK have said, okay, let's like have a really strong presence on long again, like we did in the pistol round. Or okay, Happy was up here, but never mind. They're gonna have a long presence, and then after a while, nobody turns up. So this forces a reposition, and they lose the initial strength of having this smoke and having the pre-nades going in and the crossfire setup. That's gone now, and now we're seeing that Freiburg. And there's lots of players, I think it's Angel that often does this for Hellraisers, for example. There are lots of teams who have specific players who do things like this. They kind of like, they're entry fragging through certain areas. So Freiburg is now, like NIP has said, okay, let me reel back here, guys. It's pretty hard. I'm just to explain my thoughts here. Again, we have to ask ourselves, why is Freiburg here? What is he doing? Well, Freiburg is looking for information here, and maybe a frag. Information or lack of information is very, very huge. If Freiburg sees nothing here, let's see if this smoke will go away. Okay, if he sees nothing here, he knows that there's nobody, like there could be someone there, but initially he hasn't seen anybody. So he wants to hang around and really see if there's anybody playing kind of this position here or anybody playing this position, because that tells him a lot about their setup. If there's someone playing this position, it's very unlikely there's gonna be 2 on B. If there's someone playing this position, then they'll be able to isolate the guy on long or the guy on A very easily. So these are reasons why finding information here is like really crucial. Forrest is here because he needs to basically prevent a push coming in from dark. One way that the CTs can basically counter something like this play that Freiburg is doing, which can be quite safe if Exist is helping him with grenades, is by trying to take dark. Dark, if you have upper dark, it really starts to like put pressure onto middle slowly but surely, and the rotation times get faster. The positions can be easier to find. So this is why Forrest has to be here, because I'll have to ask ourselves, what is the purpose of Forrest holding this position? He's stopping the CTs. Why is that important? Why do the CTs want this area? And so on. So Freiburg is still trying to move into this position here. Obviously, so far he's just like edging, and this is again, okay, this is another principle of CS right now. What do we know about CS? We know that Ts can take more risks to get frags than the CTs, because the CTs, look at them, they're spread out. They're all spread out. And we know that 2 versus 1, we know that there is the concept of a numbers advantage. So if there's like a 2 versus 1, then if we apply the principle of trading in Counter-Strike, then obviously we're going to have a situation where the T's are going to come out on top. So they can take a risk with a player or two. Like Freiburg here, if you've got a great infantry fragger, then that's when he becomes really powerful, because instead of having the trade, he straight up makes the frag, and that is really important. So now let's just see how this is affecting the CTs. We're seeing that Happy, if we just look at his position, has now dropped down into CT spawn because they felt the presence of Freiburg. He's made a lot of noise in middle, so now they're afraid of something happening in middle, and we can see that a B split has been called. Freiburg has seen nothing here. LDLC have given away no information, but the time is passing slowly. So NIP can always decide to wait more, find more information, or they can just decide to say, look guys, let's just make a call. Let's make a call based on what we know about the team, and a feeling that we have something that, because there's lots of elements that we can't say, like they can make decisions on elements that we don't understand. So their reads, their practices against LDLC, the stuff they've seen in demos, there's loads of stuff that they know that we don't, that can contribute to a decision that we don't see in the game. For whatever reason, they have decided to go for a split here, and we're going to see that it's going to get executed here. So there's the typical smoke. So why is that smoking there? Obviously, you know, it's going to make it really hard for the rotating players from A to actually get to the site. However, Smith's actually immediately killed Forest. This is a really nice thing here now for LDLC. Getting a kill here and stopping this push from Dark increases their chances massively to actually win this round. If they cannot get the bomb through to B, in fact, okay, let's just pause it here. Okay, so they lost Forest in this position. They have smoked off Happy here. So let's just think about this a little bit. Do they have to push in right now? Well, we already said that, you know, them losing one player isn't actually a massive deal. If they lose two players, it does start to hurt a lot. But they have forced LDLC to move it around a lot. What would happen, I ask you, if they fall back here? What would happen then? You know, they know Happy's here in CT spawn. They know there's two players now. They know there's two players now in B. So that means that if they were to move up Cat, or if they were to like delay and then try to play on the rotations again, which they have the time to do, they could find interesting situations or picks, or they could catch LDLC looking for the info. They still have the ability to actually make strong plays without committing towards B here, because the longer the time goes on, the longer MBK has to rotate, the longer Shox has to rotate as well, and the less their chance to actually hold B is, because even if they get the site, even if they kill these two players, even if they get the bomb down, the players will already be on top of them. So this is something to consider. So let's just see what they interpret this as. Okay, they're still pushing. Freiburg goes up. Now Freiburg dies, and there's nobody to immediately trade for him. We can see Michael Elliott there, but he couldn't come close to trading. So this is one of those spots where Smiths making that initial frag in Dark has, like we said, increased the chances for them to win the round massively. Now we're going to do one more round like this because I feel like I'm not doing the best job ever, and maybe, you know, with more practice things will get easier. Obviously Michael Elliott is beasting a little bit here, but he's going to go down. So let's just jump to the next round, and well, we do have a full buy going on. Do they have a? Yeah, they could pretty much got a full buy. I would like to see. I want to see a round where they have an AWP. That's eco for them. Okay, this round. Let's try this round. I don't remember what happens in this round. I watched it live, I think so. Yeah, I watched it live, but I don't remember what happened in the round. Okay. So we'll do this round last now, and then go on from there. So let's just okay, we got Michael Elliott. I mean, we know. Okay. Oh, Smith doesn't have the AWP, but Shox has the AWP. Okay. Okay. Well, let's just quickly look and see what Michael Elliott sees here, because obviously Michael Elliott is the guy that sees the stuff first for his team. Sees one, sees two. That's the very common thing that you'll see. Like you make the call, okay, 2 crossed, because you need to know how many people went towards B. 2 crossed. And he might want to look for another peek here to just see if there's anybody pushing close to the doors. You can see he's waiting a long time there, just very careful. Wow, we missed. Let's just go back actually, because we missed Freiburg pushing in. Okay. Okie dokie. Let's do this again. Let's do it with the map up. And then let's pause at an appropriate moment. Dust 2 is often about finding picks when you're in buy rounds as a T. So there's so many ways to do it. We obviously saw Freiburg finding a way to do it there, but let's just wait a little bit here. Okay, so we know why Michael Elliott is looking down middle, because he's got an AWP, and he can maybe get a pick. Forest and Exist, why do they go down towards B? Why do they go down towards this area? That's a question that you should ask yourself. I'm going to start not giving answers. Because I can answer all these questions in my way. Might not be necessarily correct, but I want you to answer them for yourself. Okay, so let's just look at this. Now we've got Get Right and Freiburg towards A long. You know, why are they in these positions? Freiburg goes straight through. Now, why would it be that Freiburg goes straight through here? He did have a great timing. So let's quickly look at Freiburg. He had a very good timing. Let's just slow it down a little bit. And he's able to jump past. There's a smoke there as well. And he probably knows that they've been smoking it so that MBK can get into that position. So that, like, this is us able to break it down from hindsight. It's been much more than one round where that smoke has been put down there, whether it's by the T's or MBK, it doesn't matter. Like, sometimes you'll see the CTs do that smoke to get a player safely to pit, but that obviously means that friberg knows the angle exactly where MBK is going to be peeking from. So he knows he can get one-on-one. And we already talked about how big a role your entry fraggers can play and how they can go alone and how that's their role to get that edge against the CTs. So now friberg's gotten a massive edge for his team. So again, now let's ask ourselves the questions. Okay, why is exist over here? Well, we don't have friberg over in this position. So now exist is the one trying to get the info instead. And again, okay, let me just explain this as well because, okay, I don't explain it. Okay, if they see two players, if they see a player here, and they know there's a player here, what does that mean now that they've got a pick here? Well, it means that taking A is probably going to be pretty easy as a short answer. Exist managed to get another frag here, so now they know there's only one player on B. And they know that there's probably a player around site somewhere and potentially, potentially two players on around A. They don't know exactly though, but they can be pretty sure about B. So a B split is very possible, or if they have to be very cognizant that there can be someone coming from cat, so they can wait as well. They've got loads of time to wait. So if they start waiting, that's going to be the reason. But they don't feel that they need to because they have such a good advantage here. They're just going to go for the split into the B player. There you go. So very simple stuff. Let's see if we can do another round really quickly. Can I actually do this where I just ask questions? I just want to give the answer so much. At least my answers. I may be completely wrong, but we've got 2 AWPs for LDLC. That's brilliant. All right, 2 AWPs for LDLC. So obviously this allows them to do a lot of stuff. Smith, we know that he's going to go for this mid pick. Mike clearly knows it as well. Let's see if he's even looking at where Smith's... Oh, he's actually going up. Smith usually peeks from the bottom side. Anyway, again, we've got 2 people for LDLC going towards long. And by the way, do you now see why it's like so difficult to actually properly do analysis when a match is playing? Like, it's so impossibly difficult to do it properly. Anyway, LDLC are running a very similar setup to before. They're giving up middle, and one really important thing is that NIP have been identifying this and been taking it away from them and forcing them to reposition. And we can see how many problems it's been causing LDLC here and there. Obviously, LDLC have still been picking up rounds though, but still. Okay. So again, we see now that NIP are going for a cat take. So you can ask yourself, what is the importance of a cat take? How does cat help us? That's a good question to ask yourself. What does it allow them to do? What is friberg trying to do right now? Obviously, he's trying to see if he can get a pick, or just clear some angles, basically. And this is just these are just map control plays. Map control gives you a lot more options, a lot more information to work with. I'm trying to flash in. Okay, that flash. This might not be obvious, but that flash, the purpose of that could just be to actually bait out flashes from the opponents so that friberg knows, he can see the trajectory of the flash that's thrown back, and then he can know where they are standing. That is very likely the reason why friberg just did that flash. He wants them to throw a flash and give away where they're standing. This is a very good information bait from friberg there. Okay, that smoke can also serve the same purpose. You're going to have to get through, and friberg can drop down if he wants here. Yeah, okay, he's going to drop down, which is pretty strong. He does go down, but look at the way that it's affected the positions here. MBK, look where he is, look how happy he is, look what Shox is. Strong reaction here. So many grenades. They're threatening this area very heavily. But we can see that Get Right is still waiting for a push from long, actually. And the rest of the team are slow behind friberg. Again, when you have a player like friberg playing for you, there is a lot of potential you can have to sacrifice him, which usually would look terrible. But in the case of NIP, that's not always going to be the case. So stuff does fall apart for them. Like the gamble with friberg doesn't pay off. If they did kill Happy down here, having friberg in this position gives them a lot of room to work with. But anyway, guys, this is, I guess, kind of like a pilot episode because I can do more of these. Let me know how you thought it went. Let me know if you think it helped you at all. But generally, as I said, like, you just want to constantly ask yourself, what is the reason that that this, that, or the other is actually happening? Why are they doing this? What does it mean? How does it help their objective? Just when you're watching demos, go through this with the pro level matches. How are they achieving it? Especially when it comes to even the tactical elements, or positional elements, when teammates are standing near each other. Like, why is this guy here? Like, looking here, what does that mean? And by the way, I just gave you the formula for like how to make my CT spotlights, because that's it's essentially how I do the CT spotlights. I just asked as many questions to myself as I can. I'm sure I miss a lot of stuff, but I guess I take the work out of it for you guys, and you can just sit back and just watch. And yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed that. It was 25 minutes, so it might be a bit long, I don't know. Give me feedback. Tell me if you want another episode, if you want me to maybe do it a different way, and we can work it out as we go along. So long as I've helped somebody, as long as someone has taken something from this, I'm happy. So thanks for watching, guys, and see you for the next one.